Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving deep into one of the most exciting economic stories happening right now, India's absolutely massive and fast-changing export economy. It's a real powerhouse, but the things that are driving its success, well, they're shifting faster than ever.
So, that gets us to the big question for today. We all know India is a giant in global trade, but its biggest exports are in flux. So what's actually going to be the #1 export in 2026? You know, the answer might just surprise you. Okay, let's get into it.
To really get where things are headed, we first have to understand the incredible journey so far. You've got to look at the sheer scale of India's growth, especially over the last decade. The numbers, frankly, are staggering.
Let's just start with this number. In the 2023-24 fiscal year, India's total exports, we're talking goods and services combined, hit a record-breaking $778 billion. And look, this isn't just a small bump. It's a huge milestone that really signals a new era for India in global trade.
And this chart really put that into perspective. If you rewind just a decade, back to 2014, total exports were sitting around $466 billion. Now fast forward to today, and that number has shot up to over $778 billion. That's a jump of almost 67% in just 10 years. That is some serious momentum. And you know, this isn't a story about just one part of the economy doing all the heavy lifting. Nope, both physical goods, what we call merchandise, and services are firing on all cylinders. This is so important because they act as twin engines, which makes the whole economy way more resilient and less dependent on, say, volatile prices for raw materials. Okay, so we've seen the big picture growth, now it's time to zoom in. Let's really break down the products that are the current champions of India's export world. Who are the heavyweights on top right now? So take a look at this list of the top 10 export categories. What I want you to notice is just how diverse this group is. You've got high-tech software and IT services right near the top. That's that powerful services engine we talked about. But then you also have merchandise powerhouses like engineering goods and pharmaceuticals. This list really gives you a feel for just how broad India's export economy has become. But among all the physical goods being shipped out, one category has been the king for a while now. And right now, the undisputed heavyweight champion of India's merchandise exports is petroleum products. Year after year, it tops the charts in value. And this shows you just how dominant it is, making up a huge slice of all merchandise exports. Now, you might be thinking, hang on, doesn't India import most of its crude oil? And you'd be absolutely right. The secret here is India's massive refining capacity. It basically acts as a giant value-add factory, taking in imported crude and turning it into high-value fuels like diesel and gasoline for the global market. Okay, so petroleum might be the reigning king, but a dramatic transformation is happening as we speak. There's a new challenger on the block, a rising star whose growth is completely changing the game. And this, my friends, is where the story gets really interesting.
Just look at this number, over 41%. That incredible year-over-year growth belongs to the breakout star of the Indian economy, electronic goods. It is, by a long shot, the fastest-growing major sector, and it's signaling a massive pivot in the country's entire manufacturing focus.
So what's lighting the fire behind this explosion? Well, it really comes down to a key government policy, the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, or PLI. In simple terms, it's a program that gives companies cash incentives to ramp up their manufacturing inside India, and it has been an absolute game-changer, convincing global giants to make India a major hub for producing things like smartphones. And this slide right here puts it all into perspective. On one side, you have the explosive, almost 42% growth of electronics, and on the other, the steady, respectable, but much slower 2.9% growth of the old leader petroleum products. This is what an economic transformation looks like in real time. And hey, it's not just electronics. Another sector that's on a tear is pharmaceuticals. India is already called the pharmacy of the world for its massive role in making generic medicines and vaccines, and it just keeps getting bigger. It recently blew past the $30 billion export mark. This just reinforces that pivot towards high-value, knowledge-based industries.
All right, so we've met the current champs and the rising stars. Now let's look out to the horizon. It's time for finally answer our big question and see just how massive India's ambition for the future really is.
So here it is, the answer to our question. The future heavyweights are all about tech. Projections show that electronics are on a clear path to overtake petroleum as the single biggest merchandise export.
But if you look at the total picture, the biggest overall export category is set to be the dominant software and AI services sector, with new giants like renewable energy also set to join the top ranks.
And all of this incredible growth is pointed at one incredibly ambitious target. India's goal is to hit $2 trillion in total exports by the year 2030, and they plan to split it right down the middle, $1 trillion in goods and $1 trillion in services. That just gives you a sense of the sheer scale of this economic story.
Welcome to Eximpedia,